We are living through a great transformation in society. Aliens and belief thereof is transforming from a niche and quirky interest to a mainstream and proportionally significant worldview. In the United Kingdom, around 1/5 of the population believes the Earth has been visited by extraterrestrials, and 7% claim to have seen a UFO. However, the UK is arguably behind the trend. As in the United States, statistics are much more incredible. According to polls, a fantastic 24% of the American population believes they have seen a UFO, with a 2019 Gallup poll further suggesting that a staggering 68% of Americans believe that the government is lying about UFOs. These numbers indicate that something epochal is occurring in Western belief. For say what you want about aliens, there is no major institution which has concretely and absolutely stated that they exist. Yet, more Americans believe their government is lying about UFOs than vote in elections. Democracy holds less interest in most people's minds than aliens. This means that the skeptics and believers can argue infinitely about the existence of UFOs. It does not matter, for they are arguing against the burgeoning new gods of our age. So, at this turning point in the evolution of belief, we should perhaps ask what these alien beings people believe in are, and what they look like. After all, more people believe in aliens than claim to have seen them. Thus, when they look up in the sky, what do they think is out there? Predominantly, culture is inundated with the iconic image of alien greys wanting to abduct and take you aboard their craft to perform all sorts of horrific medical experiments. However, there are other types of extraterrestrial beings, far more strange, far more exotic, and possibly even much more horrific. My name is Laura, and you are watching The Paranormal Scholar. Insectoid extraterrestrials taking the form of a large praying mantis may seem too bizarre to be believed, but there are many eyewitness testimonies from all over the world. These beings are reported as being between 6 to 7 feet tall, with long, thin, usually dark brown torsos, many spindly joints, insect-like heads, and large, slanted black eyes. Sometimes they are even reported as wearing different coloured robes to help presumably signify their rank. Very odd to contemplate such a being as real. Yet, the phenomena has a long pedigree which some believe goes back to the myths of ancient peoples. In more recent times, in 2021, Paul Froggatt in Warwick, England, joined the many traumatised people who have experienced encountering these beings. It began as he was cycling home at 5 AM from his night shift at a dog food factory. On the way back, he saw something odd in the sky, a glowing orange sphere. Unsure what to make of what he was seeing, wondering whether it was a satellite or the planet Venus, he stopped his bicycle to take some pictures. It was then that the oddity in the sky started to move around and rotate in shape, with a strange part sticking out of it. At that moment, he knew he was not looking at the planet Venus, but did not want to dwell on it too much. Feeling as though there was something wrong, he took his photographs and then hurried on his way. As he cycled into the forest, he thought he could see the object following him, but dismissed it at that moment as some sort of optical illusion. In the forest, he reported something which is testified to in nearly all compelling cases of alien encounters: absolute silence. According to Paul, he was used to riding his bike through the forest in the early morning, and there was usually a chorus of birdsong and insects, but this time the woods were dead silent. Many contactees report this phenomenon. It is sometimes called the Oz factor, because when this happens, it means that you are about to be dramatically taken out of your normal reality. Right after this, standing a few meters away from him, Paul saw what he described as a humanoid praying mantis, just staring at him. It was 7 feet tall, with large oval black eyes, bipedal, and according to Paul, could read his mind. All he could manage to do in that moment was stare back in sheer terror as the alien expressed to him pure hatred with its mind. He described the sensation as feeling like a fly caught in a spider's web. Then he snapped out of his fear, and the alien stepped back as though it was preparing to attack him. Paul's newspaper testimony ends here, with him stating that the experience traumatized him and he has had trouble sleeping since his encounter. As the Soviet Union was falling apart in 1989, something very strange is said to have occurred around 300 miles away from Moscow in Voronezh, Russia. This was not some rural hamlet, but rather an industrial city, which today is actually one of the most populous in the country. The strangeness began with many people seeing a glowing, deep red ovoid object in the sky at around 6:30 p.m. on September the 27th. It hovered less than 40 feet above the ground in a park in the city for a while as perplexed residents stood in awe. Then, all of a sudden, it rapidly flew off, with many breathing sighs of relief at the departure of the very odd sight. However, only a few minutes later, the UFO rapidly reappeared and hovered over a group of schoolchildren playing football. They, alongside a group of 35 to 40 adults at a nearby bus station, bore witness to one of the most bizarre and well-attested UFO sightings in history. For, according to their testimonies, a hatch underneath the hovering craft opened to reveal a weird, long-limbed, thick, necklace 9-foot-tall entity with a tiny, knob-like head. This alien seemed to fill the entire hatch opening with its size, and, to add to its peculiarity, it wore a silver jumpsuit and bronze boots. Eyes, which are usually so distinctive during alien close encounters, did not fail to impress on this occasion either. The ET had 3 luminous eyes on its small head, 2 of them white and the other one red, which swiveled around like a radar. The UFO then descended to the ground and landed softly, with the creature walking out of the hatch, alongside 2 equally odd and imposing companions. In the fashion of the archetypal television robot aliens, they walked out of the craft with a heavy gait, and then proceeded to take soil samples before a bewildered crowd. They made indecipherable sounds, as though communicating with one another. One of them, seemingly their chief, at one point sent out a beam of light from his chest that created holographic geometric shapes, seemingly to communicate something to his compatriots. This made one of the nearby children scream in sheer terror, which made the alien chief fix its gaze upon them, and seemingly made them become unnaturally paralyzed. Panic then spread through the crowd, as it started to seem that they were at the start of an alien invasion. Then, supposedly, the craft, the aliens all disappeared before the panic could properly set in. Quickly, people once again breathed a sigh of relief and began to speak to one another about what had just happened. It was, however, still premature. The aliens are said to have reappeared 5 minutes later in the exact same spot they were, except this time with a weapon. One of the aliens had a tube, about a foot long, which it aimed at a nearby teenager, and shot a beam of light towards him, which seemingly vaporized them. At this point, full panic did indeed set in, and it seemed as though a war of the worlds was about to begin, when the aliens inexplicably walked back into their spaceship and calmly left the planet. After they were gone, the teenager reappeared, without any knowledge of where he had been. As bizarre as this event seems, it was attested to by not only members of the public and press, but also members of Russia's armed forces coming forward as witnesses. Scientists even examined the site and found evidence of something having landed in the city park that day. Reptilian aliens have long been the subject of numerous conspiracy theories. Among these is the idea that important people around the world are in fact reptilian alien beings camouflaging as humans. The abundance of belief in these theories, at the very least, speaks to how different populations perceive their elites as such far-removed entities that they might as well be alien. Regardless, there are some who attest to having seen these entities in their pure reptilian form. One such case comes from Henderson, Nevada in 1977. Mark Brooks, the then 13-year-old son of ufologist Cherry Hinkle, alleges to have seen something extraordinary within the area of the Black Mountain, at the time a completely empty desert. As Mark and his friend explored one of the caves in the mountain, they alleged to have discovered something odd, a strange circular chamber. Inside this chamber, they found an opening into a passageway whose darkness seemed to swallow the light from their torches, so that they could barely see anything in front of them. Driven on by youthful curiosity, they ventured forth. Soon they are said to have heard the sounds of voices and maybe the distant humming of machines coming from deep within the cave. The boys, excited that they had stumbled upon some secret mining operation, kept going deeper and deeper into the mine. At the end of the passage, they discovered a rusty metal door with a strange metallic-looking rod next to it. Eager for a keepsake, Mark picked up the rod, which to his surprise was extremely lightweight, and pushed it through his belt buckle. As for the door, it would not budge open, no matter how much the boys pushed and shook the handle. On the other side, animalistic voices started to get louder, and footsteps seemed to pick up pace as they approached the door from the other side. Frightened, the boys ran away, back towards the circular chamber. Behind them, they heard the door creak open. Their hearts raced faster than their feet moved, determined not to stop until they could see the tunnel entrance, daylight, and hopefully, safety. Once outside the cave, the boys caught their breaths, feeling relieved after their adventure. Mark, noticing he still had the rod, took it out and the boys examined it together. Supposedly, the rod had strange symbols etched into it, and apparent letters. As they guessed what language it could have been, they heard a shrill growl emanate from the entrance. There, it is said that a large greenish humanoid, whose hulking frame could barely fit in the entrance, lumbered out with the intention of giving chase to the two young boys. Mark and his friend ran as fast as they could away from the alien. It chased them all the way back to Mark's home, where the boys are said to have rushed in and shut the door. Mark's mother, Cherry, was at home and attempted to calm the boys down after their ordeal. When the boys said that they were being chased by a large green monster, Cherry, thinking that they were merely being hyperbolic, said she would go speak with the man she believed was in a costume. Mark implored his mother, "He's not a man," and said that he would most likely kill her. He gave more details and said that he looked like a man, but his face looks like a snake, like a lizard man. He even said the reptilian being was naked except for a wide belt with stuff on it, a detail which is prevalent in other reptilian alien close encounters. Outside, the creature mysteriously disappeared, the boys then able to settle down. As for Cherry, she thought the whole experience strange and did not know what to make of it until that evening. Supposedly, outside at night, Cherry saw a large reptilian humanoid alien looking at her, displaying 4 pointed teeth, after which it soon disappeared. Believing the strange rod the boys had recovered to be the cause of the alien's attention, they decided to leave it at the entrance to the cave the following morning. This seemed to work, as they were not disturbed by the reptilian again. In the past, extraterrestrials have been used as a literary device to demonstrate some philosophical point. Voltaire, the 18th century French intellectual, does this masterfully in his philosophical science fiction novella Micromegas, about a colossal enlightened alien that is around 25 miles tall who comes to Earth to study it. Stefan Dennard would at first sight be following in this tradition when he spoke about encountering a benevolent race of alien beings who come from the planet Iargan. In his book UFO, Contact from Planet Iargan, published in 1969, it goes into detail about philosophy and a critique of mankind for its social backwardness. Yet, some who have investigated this case, including an American lieutenant colonel, state that Stefan is very serious about his claims, and he published it as fiction initially because he did not think it would be believed, but wanted their message to spread. Indeed, it is claimed that Stefan Dennard is a pseudonym, as he is, in fact, a successful Dutch engineer who was a CEO of a prominent European company. More than this, however, usually philosophically enlightened beings tend to also be awesome or beautiful in literature. Stefan's aliens are in fact quite odd and animalistic in appearance, and at first glance do not seem to exude greatness. His first encounter is said to have occurred in the early 60s. Stefan had found a strange alien being in the water as he was out on his boat. He described them as wearing some sort of spacesuit which made them look deceptively human. However, there were some key differences. Their legs were short and stocky, and they appeared much stronger, with proud aggression in their animalistic faces. After rescuing one of these strange beings, he began a long dialogue with them, which happened, according to him, both physically and telepathically over many years. They were not like other UFO encounters, as their crafts were very unlike the silent ones which accompany the more traditional sighting, suggesting that they are indeed a separate alien species from the ones predominantly recorded. They described their civilization to Stefan as being spiritually ascendant, with the ability to control their reincarnations and garner a perfect efficiency from the resources of their planet, because of their advanced technology and superior social development. These aliens even gave Stefan a gift for him to share with the rest of the world, a piece of advanced technology which would be useless to humans, as they are nowhere near the level of advancement required to use it, but could be used to prove their existence to the world. They wanted human beings to know that they are being watched by advanced aliens, and that, in doing so, it would hopefully help human beings to be more circumspect with their own behaviours. In their dialogues, the aliens told Stefan that there was no point in gifting mankind any usable advanced technology, as socially they were unprepared and needed to evolve more in that direction. Stefan's testimony in his book was a bestseller at the time, and his descriptions of these strange aliens with their exotic Edenic civilization continues to fascinate and intrigue people to this day. Rino De Stefano was working for a local paper in Italy in the late 1970s when an incredibly strange story caught his attention. The case centred around a private security guard called Piero Zanfretta working near Genoa. On the 6th of December, Piero was heading towards a client's rural house in his Fiat patrol car when all of a sudden it stopped dead in front of their house. Regardless of the strangeness of his car dying, he had come to do a job, as he knew the house to be uninhabited. Thus, when he saw 4 strange lights in the garden of the house, he assumed that they were burglars, and stepped out of his car with a torch and a gun to investigate. He went through an open gate and crept along the wall, hoping to take the thieves by surprise. Feeling a touch from behind, shock ran through his system, and believing the thieves had somehow got the better of him, sprung and shined his light at the face of whoever had just touched him. There were no thieves, only an enormous, green, ugly and frightful creature whose skin seemed to undulate and was no less than 10 feet tall. Fight had then turned to flight. Piero ran away as fast as possible. A blinding light very soon engulfed him and made him turn back around to see a triangular UFO rise up and away from the back of the house. He then made it back to his car and tried to radio the bizarre and terrifying incident in. Those who worked with him testified that he was very excited and commented, "My God, are they ugly?" over the radio. When he was questioned in the moment whether they were men, Piero supposedly exclaimed, "No, they aren't men, they aren't men." At 1:15 a.m, other security and police officers arrived at the scene to find Piero outside his car on the floor in a state of shock. When they approached him, he jumped up and raised his gun at them. Others, friends and colleagues, implored him to lower his weapon, but he did not seem to recognize them and was completely seized by terror. After a tense standoff, they managed to disarm Piero. The police then began an official investigation. Indeed, evidence was gathered of something strange having occurred at the house, including depressions in the ground behind the building, which seemed to have been made by a large and heavy object. They questioned his colleagues, all of whom vouched for Piero's good conduct, and could not believe that he would have fabricated such a bizarre encounter. Most extraordinary, however, was that the police had interviewed residents nearby and found 52 independent eyewitnesses that claimed to have seen a bright glare in the direction of the incident. Soon after the incident, Reno Di Stefano became involved and helped Piero undergo hypnotic regression. During these sessions, not only did he claim to have witnessed the aliens, but also that he was abducted by them. Under hypnosis, he attested to their unusual and frightening appearance, with further emphasis on the red veins across their foreheads and terrifying yellow triangular eyes. This would not be the end of his time with these aliens. Piero's life became plagued by these extraterrestrials, as he would be repeatedly abducted by them. What exactly they wanted from him is not known, but their intentions were made very clear. Supposedly, they told Piero that they were just the beginning, and that soon very large numbers of their terrifying species would be coming to Earth. The only thing they failed to specify was what exactly soon means to them. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the paranormal. Or why not visit me in person at Rowton's Museum of the Paranormal and Spirituality for one of our guided tours, seance evenings, or paranormal investigations. Or very soon, why not drop in for a self-guided tour as we open for regular daytime hours. More is linked in the description. And finally, if you cannot wait until my next video, why not watch the one suggested on screen now? Until next time,